Welcome everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can
can
hear
hear
you,
you.
John.
All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the February OCP Server Project meeting. We don't have any special presentations, so we're going through all of the sub-projects, which with as many sub-projects as we have now takes up pretty much the whole meeting. Get started. We have scheduled the EMEA Summit is upcoming April 29th and 3rd. It's in Dublin. We are in the process reviewing the submissions right now. So if you have a submission in, we should be hearing back on accept or reject in the next couple of days. The APEC Summit details have been finalized. So it is going to be August 5th to 6th in Taipei City. Here we've had over 30 companies representing in that one as well. And for those who don't have it on your calendar, the next global summit is October 13th and 16th in San Jose. See, do we have Greg or Michael on, or Bajan? Either of you have any OCP Foundation or steering committee updates?
I think that was to me, and I literally just joined, and I do not have any updates. I'm coming in on the fly. No, nothing for me. Other than I don't know if you already covered that regional summits coming up at the end of April. So
Yeah, at the EMEA
are,
Summit, April 29th and 30th.
Yep, there we go. Make your travel plans if you haven't.
Bajan, you have any announcements or anything you want to talk about?
No, I think you guys are kind of in the middle of everything. We've got, we've just done some content selections for the EMEA Summit. We're extending, kind of like an invitation if you guys want to do any workshops coming up this year to, organize that and we can help you guys out. And we have a number of things happening down the road. Like we have APAC and China Day that's coming up in August. But other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's a good call out on the workshops. As we go through the different sub-project updates, let us know if you've scheduled a workshop or if you'd like help in scheduling a workshop. The OCP Foundation is keen to enable those. So if we see a need for a workshop in any of our sub-projects, let us know and we'll start working with you to get that planned. First sub-project, have the MHS sub-project update. Brian?
Okay, let me share. Can I share, or did you just
Yes.
want me to?
No, if you got something to share, share it.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, you're seeing the MHS slides, right?
Right.
Okay. So this is from our February 19th meeting. It's posted on our wiki if you want to hear the full update, as well as these slides. We had an update from our HPM work group, our CRPS work group, PMP work group, and from Edge MHS. So I'll go through those. The other two work streams were no update. Skip that one. So for our MHS HPM work group update, we're working on a new version of the SDNO spec that contains 3 things. And we've talked about these 3 things in the past recordings if you want to get more details. The first is the addition of 48 volt. So our MPIC spec has added 48 volt input connectors and output connectors to that spec, and it's available on our wiki. But we don't yet have it integrated into our HPM specs. So this is basically allowing for a 12 volt or 48 volt HPM. And so we're looking to have that published sometime in March, hopefully, in our 1.1 release. It's a new set of connectors as described in MPIC. So we're working on that. The second one is our SCM team is working on a new DCSCM that's called CFF, or compact form factor. You can see a picture of it here. if you're familiar with the NVIDIA contribution, it's a 1U SCM. It can be horizontal or vertical. The placement of it is not defined. Depends on which connector you choose and where you put it. But the HPM specs are in the process of being modified such that it allows both the CFF as well as the horizontal SCM option. Again, we want to try and incorporate that into the same 1.1 spec. So if you have feedback on the CFF, DCSCM, I think the DCSCM work group has posted this on their external wiki and asking for feedback. It is a scalable SCM, so this is describing the smallest version. There's also a longer version as well as a version that can have cabling off of it for front panel. So it has multiple options, and the SCM work group has that posted. The last one is we're looking at adding direct dock MCRPS power supplies to SDNO. So we're calling this a Class C variant with direct dock power supplies. So this allows you to maintain the SDNO ecosystem of risers, but does allow for direct dock power supplies. So all three of these we're looking at bundling into our 1.1 spec. And again, we're targeting the middle of March to release this. No update from our MPIC workstream. Our CRPS workstream, basically they're working on a new version of the spec called 1.06. There was just some minor corrections as they went through manufacturing. They received some feedback on some connector. I don't want to call them issues, but just feedback that they're working on incorporating, as well as some clarifications on some PM bus commands that they got feedback on. They're expecting to release that spec in March as well. And then finally, or I guess we have one more update on the MPMP work stream. They are working on their 0.5 release package, targeting regional summit. And I think they do have a presentation or two scheduled for the regional summit. We will have that presentation video posted as soon as they have those ready from the foundation on our wiki. So for those that are unable to attend, you'll be able to hear the latest update from the PMP workstream. No update from SCM workstream. And then I'll just speak for Dirk. For Edge MHS, I think that they're working on getting their first draft publicized. They've locked in a width of 168. As well as a larger size at 295. So they're looking at leveraging the MHPM specifications, but these are perhaps optimizations for Edge. They are looking at some fixed riser placement studies. I think they have a couple questions that they're working on with the community as to whether they should support a tool-less implementation. And then similar to what we're doing with the new SDNO 1.1, they're looking at not mandating the DCSCM usage on the edge so that the BMC can be down on the motherboard for cost-saving reasons. I went through all these kind of fast. So if you want to hear the full update from the workstream leads, again, that video is posted on our wiki. John, any questions? Sorry, any questions?
Yeah, Brian, I have one question. Regarding the DCSCM 2.2, I understand the form factor. Is there a plan change on the pinout? Is there update from DCSCI 2.1?
No, so my understanding, and I don't know if Casper's on this call or not, is that
I'm on it, so I can confirm that is accurate, but finish your thought,
Yeah, I was just going to say that the 2.2 should be backwards compatible with the 2.1. no changes there. I know they are working on a Rev 3 CLA that potentially could be different. And I think we talked about that last month, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, got it.
So that my understanding of the Rev 3 is that it's more optimized for, say, two independent operating systems, whereas the version 2, although it supports it, it's not optimized for it.
Yeah, agree. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just one confirm.
Really, with 2.2, Damien, is we're incorporating the CFF.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
All right, anything else, or questions for Brian or Dirk? All right, thank you.
Just Brian, just to confirm, on the power supply CRPS, there are different versions for power input. For capability of that power supply, there is a UPS version of it or battery version of it as well, right?
There's a minus 48 volt DC and a plus 54 volt DC. I am not familiar of a battery version. I don't know if John is on the call or someone else might be. But it's mainly the DC optimized versions. See, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Next up, we have the AI hardware software co-design subproject. Wei Feng?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'll just have a quick update on the status of AI hardware software co-design. Here's the summary of the overall progress. At the beginning of the year, so we want to finalize the work scope for the year. So currently we are working on AI co-design blog. Essentially, this blog defines the work scope for the work group. So currently we are pretty much in the final stage, and we are trying to finalize this blog at the end of the month, basically 2 days away. And then we'll try to publish it that in the early March. So in this blog, essentially, we divide into a few parts, including the most important part is the overall the polymorphic architecture we define in a work group, and we divide the work into a few subsystems, and then so we focusing on one specific part. Basically, it's a polymorphic interconnect. And the group identified this as most critical component to scale out AI acceleration system. So here we define, I'm not going to go through the detail, I just want to show the overall kind of skeleton of the block. And so we define a work group, and also we trying to identify the connection with ongoing community project like UEC, UA-Link type of work. And then we are certainly leveraging the ongoing progress from these work groups, and then define what we need to do or any adaptation we need to do for this polymorphic architecture. And yeah, we also want to establish the connection with some ongoing effort, including the chiplet level of interconnect. And overall, this is the last part we are trying to call action. We define a whole bunch of working items from work item 1 to 6. This is more kind of like a co-delivery for the work group. And we also have some additional requirements, basically trying to establish the requirement for collaboration with other OCP project. And so here, yeah, this is the status of the work scope definition, and we are trying to finalize into this, and then we'll publish hopefully by the first week of March. So this is the first part, and the second part, where we define the work scope for the group, and we also trying to explore the potential for co-design simulation framework, and we also invite a presentation from Brown University Professor Pepe, and she talked about this charm. This is one of the the platform they developed in their lab. This charm essentially is based upon FPGA platform and to composing the heterogeneous accelerators. And one of the important part of this work is characterize the application for efficient execution at runtime. So this is the part we feel like maybe there's some collaboration we can work with the university. And the last part is about AI Fabric pre-study. So currently, we have a few people trying to draft a white paper on scale out fabrics and the terminology, topology, trade-offs. And we are targeting releasing this white paper in mid-April. And we're also building a plan for modeling this POC based upon this white paper foundation. And also we plan to put this as a demo in a global summit and articulate the model benefits for understanding the AI fabrics. So this is about the overall progress from the work group. Any questions?
Hey, Wei-Feng, Alan here.
Yes.
Good to see you. Do you have can you send us a link to it for you taking sort of reviews from people?
Okay. You want this?
Yeah, are you going for a review period of the document you're going to publish, or is that done?
No, there's we're targeting the end of the month, so we still have a couple of days. But if you have any comments, certainly we welcome all the comments.
Yeah. Sorry for my absence over the last.
No problem. Okay, I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah, thanks. Perfect.
Great. Thanks, Alan.
Any other questions? All right. Next up, we have Alan, HPC subproject.
Hi guys. I don't have any formal update. Not much beyond what I gave everybody last month. Essentially, as far as the regional summit's concerned, I will be giving a presentation there, literally just articulating what we're up to, what I presented on the last call, which is, for those of you that weren't there, just as a brief summary. We are looking at bringing some modularity for accelerators into the DCMHS framework. Or that's our idea to bring forward and see if that can be accepted. Specifically, what it's all about is there's a lot of AI type or heterogeneous accelerator type startups out there, and they all have a process to get that chip from a fab, get it brought up, and get it deployed, and then get it into a form factor that is obviously, hopefully, going to slot in and become a success in these wider systems. And as they go, as Wei-Feng was just talking about, as they go more and more heterogeneous, how are we going to make that a much more friendly ecosystem for everybody apart from the big boys? So the idea we had is that we would have what you always start with, you start with a bring up platform when your chip comes from the fab, and you typically do that. It's typically a lab rat type platform where you can probe it and all the rest of it, and then once you get your devices running, you're actually making specific target boards to go into production, like PCI cards or OAN modules, etc. So the idea we have here is actually, if we could make the Bring Up platform actually deployable, and we could introduce processes that will allow success for everyone knowing if they follow this particular process, they'll end up with a known good Bring Up board before you introduce this brand new chip into it, with certain test approaches and processes for making sure signal integrity is good, power supplies are good, clocks are stable, etc. So basically you've got a good board. Then when you plug the new chip in straight from the fab, if you're dealing with issues, you're not trying to work out whether it's board issues or chip issues. So I think that could be made very procedural and very standardized. So that's the sort of an idea that we'd like to contribute to OCP ultimately. And then obviously we've been doing some more of the crazier stuff in OCP HPC, the wall of computers. Many of you may remember. So then, if you really wanted super density, then you could migrate from that Bring Up. You'd have a nice deployable Bring Up that might not be quite as dense, but we're still trying to target decent density with the Bring Up platform. But you could potentially go to the more innovative and more sort of testing new ideas area with the OCP HPCM that we've been working on for a few years. So I will be basically presenting that at the regional summit. As far as the progress we're making, we're making steady progress. We're working with the interconnect people. I'm talking to a couple of thermal people as well in ODMs who might be interested in participating and helping us out with this with this exercise. So exciting times ahead. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions for HPC? All right, next up we have Damien, OCP NIC subproject.
Sure, let me share my screen. I'll go through briefly, due to we do not have a January meeting, so February we have a lot of content, so this will be, I'll go through it briefly about each of the slides. Yeah, so first off is actually we figure out we do have a conflict of the type ID in our newest DSFF OCP NIC spec with the DCSEM. So currently there's a new work stream, not new, that's been running for a while, the plug and play work stream that actually require each of the type ID and manufacturer ID combo to be unique. So in our OCP NIC DSFF, we have been using C1 for the longest time. Sorry, we're using C0 for the longest time, but we added C1, C2, etc. for the DSFF. There's a conflict with DCSEM C1. So to prevent this, we are thinking of moving the OCP NIC DSFF definitions by pushing one, but we are thinking whether pushing one is a make sense or we should push a more in case DCSEM like 3.0 use more of those. So this is something that we are still working on, but we know the conflict that we intend to change the DSFF. Given the DSFF is a newer spec, so it's much easier to change that. We don't expect issues from our NIC suppliers. So that's one. Second one is we have realized that SFP have added some newer power level. We will support it in the newer spec. There's a question in discussion of whether we need to support OSFP. The answer is of course. Either we kind of label that OSFP power or actually make it agnostic between the SFF, QSFF, OSFP. There's something to be discussed within the NIC group, but ultimately, yeah, the intent is to, of course, support it. This view is getting more and more important because for those who use the optics onto the OCP NIC, thermal is the challenge. So this is a pretty important view moving forward. Yeah, this is basically just saying that we expect USB to be isolated. This is something I presented before. And this is something also the table has updated to provide flexible, a bit more clarity what kind of interface are enabled at different modes. That was discussed again in our OCP monthly meeting. Next is thermal work stream. So there's quite a bit of interesting things happening over there. So first of all, it's more like catch up. The TSFF thermal model is actually being worked by NVIDIA. So there's one thing that's blocking them to completing it, but we have I'll talk about the subsequent slide. Wow, what are we trying to do? And the next part is like the thermal work stream is looking into further enhancing our thermal capability. So there's two ways to do it. One is to liquid cool it. Another way, of course, is to make it even taller. So there are pros and cons of doing either. So in the recent couple discussion, have been more focused on liquid cooling it. So there's a system vendor that came and shared their design, and it's pretty novel to a certain extent, given it's new. However, it does have a patent pending in the slide deck. So initially the intent is to share it back to the community, but given there's a patent pending, let's clear the legal part before we share further. So yeah, that is something we're working on. But and then we also have a heatsink solution vendor came in to share their solution about dry contact, spring dry contact, again for the intent of ability to do liquid cooling of the NIC. So if liquid cooling is something interesting and your system also see a need, Turbo Workstream is a good place to start in that conversation. And then this is the TSF thermal block we kind of talked about a bit earlier. So initially we are thinking about whether to use a thermal block or reduce the string size or put a PCIe card. And based on the discussion from thermal work stream, thermal block is actually the trend. Despite I would say there's a strong push on the turbo block, but there is actually a weak alignment whether that is the right thing to do. Pretty much the turbo workstream kind of split half-half. So I feel like this is something that we can have one more discussion to align. And then just if you go to turbo block, then it's a small thing whether you should slope the turbo block or just make it like that. Yeah, that's a small thing. And then next part is DSFF SI. So we'll use the same CLB, so no change to the DSFF CLB. But for the CBB, there is actually a change. So Dell has been working on that design. So Broadcom, Dell, and Intel tested. They found several issues. They actually quite it's not a short list, so I put it in the backup slide. And then these things will get fixed, and by actually, I'm not sure whether this is still accurate. End of Feb, there's expect to get a new version that was discussed. Yeah, this month. And then this is just an introduction. Just a quick introduction about the DSFF. The intent of this DSFF thermal test fixture is to operate with the DCMHS compliant motherboard or HPM, so that provide the Gen 6 capability to the NIC for the testing. Yeah, they'll be using two MXIO. I think one area that we discussed that could be a potential pitfall is MXIO has a lot of FXIO being defined. So what pin we define for the TFF and what pin being defined on the actual HPM, that determines how well this will work. So there's some detail we need to work through to probably even publish what kind of pinout we intend to support for this MXIO on the thermal test fixture. Yeah, I think that's about it. The rest are actually details. Yeah. Any question on this? I know I went through pretty fast. Okay, if not, back to you, John.
It was a good update. Sorry, I was on mute.
Thanks, Bijan.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute as well. Yes, thank you, Damien. Next up, we have a CMS subproject with Ready.
Yeah, I don't know if Manoj is online. I will give a verbal update, John, today.
Okay.
So we have a tech summit that is being planned for April 9th. So the focus of the tech that's actually Meta is hosting. And we have actually approximately 40 or so folks will be attending in Sunnyvale, Meta campus. So the focus is essentially looking at what are the key deliverables for this year across all the work streams. As some of you may already know that we have several work streams, starting with use cases, workloads, data center memory orchestration, multi-headed memory app plans, as well as the computational programming constructs needed for the composable memory. And then, of course, the academia research activity as well. So we have all these work streams, and what we are planning on doing in the Tech Summit is to plan for this year's deliverables, with major focus is on how do we support composable memory constructs for the AI acceleration workloads. This includes training as well as the inference specific use cases. That will be the key theme in the Tech Summit or Tech Day, whatever we want to call. So that's what is happening. Of course, all the work streams are actually working on individual, focused areas. But in general, the meta theme is we are all looking at what is the best way to support the AI specific use cases using composable memory constructs in the CMS project. Any questions, John and rest of the team?
Well, thank you for the update. Al?
There seems to be some background noise.
No. Okay, I guess it's back now. Okay, thank you for the update.
Thanks, John.
Next up, we have the Open Chiplet Economy. I don't see Jawad or Anu on unless they just joined. Anybody who has any updates for Open Chiplet Economy? Looks like we'll need to skip that one for today. You go ahead and start sharing again. Yes, we don't have an update on Open Chiplet Economy. For the Open Systems for AI Initiative, I think I did see that the white paper was released. Isn't that right, Bijan? I haven't actually looked at the link, but
Yes, yeah, the link is live in the contribution database. It's been released.
okay. So we do have the new white paper that's been published. I don't believe there's any update on the external PCI connectivity or the SE over 2, and actually Vikarsh's email bounced, so there may be some staff changes here that I'm not aware of yet. I think that's all I have on the agenda. Since we do have some extra time, I did get some comments and questions about how do we join and find all of these subprojects that we've been discussed today have their own calls. If you go to the main OCP website under Projects Server and you scroll down, you can see here's all of the calls in the server project. We're on this 8 a.m. This is all Eastern. So there's 4 calls today for the server project and 5 more calls tomorrow. So you can get all of the server project calls here. Also in each sub project, like you go to Nick, you can see just the NIC monthly call. So you can go to there and join all of those calls directly from the calendar. I did send the link out to the mailing list. So each of the sub-projects also has a mailing list, which you can subscribe or unsubscribe with a link. Those links are also in the Wiki 4-H sub-project. But if you're just wanting to look at the groups IO mailing lists that are available, if you go to your groups, all groups IO, and then subgroups, you can scroll and join any of 100 and something mailing lists. So they are, there's a lot of mailing lists, and when you join that mailing list, you will get the calendar invites for the calls that sub-project has. Just know that it's not very intuitive how to join all the sub-projects. I wanted to cover that real quick. Anything else that we want to discuss before we close the call for today? All right then. Thank everyone for joining, and we'll talk to everyone next month.
Thanks,
or in
everyone.
sub-project calls as they come up.
Thank you, Jim.
Mhm.